Hi there, I'm Nikki Sutton, and I help people realise the infinite nature of self and of reality. Should we surrender to life, and if so, how much? Now, why might we want to surrender to life? Well, we hear about in spiritual circles that we need to surrender to life. We need to let go and release control. When we're controlling aspects of our life a lot, trying to make sure things turn out a certain way, it implies that we're afraid of something. We're afraid of allowing just what comes, what creation has in store for us, and the challenges, experiences, and learning that brings. In surrendering, we release resistance, and resistance is felt as negative emotion. All negative emotion is resistance. It's saying no to situations, no to things coming up. For example, anxiety. This is a form of resistance. It's saying no to whatever's coming up, or an anticipation that something negative is going to enter our reality, or that things aren't going to go well. This is all resistance. All negative emotion is. And you can tell from this that this is not surrendering. On the other hand, if we completely surrender to life, then we're giving up all control, and this is, it doesn't feel comfortable to do, does it? Therefore, some level of discipline is required just so we can get things done. We want to make sure we'll get somewhere on time. We want to make sure whatever project we're doing gets completed, and this requires some discipline. If we completely surrender to life, this implies that we sit back and do absolutely nothing, hoping that things will fall in our lap. So, to what extent do we have discipline, and to what extent do we surrender? Is there a balance to be found? Okay, so taking a look at this popular diagram, I tried very hard to find out where it came from, but I was unable to find out. It might be of Buddhist origin. You sometimes see people wearing t-shirts with this on. So on one side we have discipline, and on the other side we have surrender, and in the middle we have flow. And this implies that a good balance of discipline and surrender would provide flow. So what's flow? Well, flow would be flowing along with life quite nicely, thank you. So if I was to redraw this diagram, actually, I think I would put it on a pivot, on a sort of a scales like this, having discipline on one side and surrender on the other. And this entire scale structure here represents the flow, and it's a balance to achieve flow. So just to go into each of the concepts here, with surrender, if we're surrendering too much, this might imply that we're taking no action, or we're doing nothing. We're idle or inactive, uncareful, unproductive, unhelpful. We're totally putting our destiny into the hands of creation, which is a good idea, but to an excessive extent. The whole of this diagram doesn't mean that we take no action. We are a human in this lifetime after all, and as a human being we can go about our business taking action and doing things, learning and experiencing. But if we surrender too much, we might totally give up our lives to creation and sort of sit doing nothing really, experiencing no catalyst whatsoever, and therefore not a lot really happens. That's surrendering too much, and there's absolutely no discipline. So surrendering a lot implies we're sort of doing nothing, we're idle, and therefore when discipline goes down, it's the same thing, doing nothing, being idle, as you can see there under discipline. Now let's look at discipline then. If we've got too much discipline being making sure that things get done, having action and having conscientiousness, attentiveness, and just getting on with things to produce catalyst in our lifetime. But if we have too much discipline, that implies a lot of control. We're trying to put too much control on our lives, making sure the house is very clean, making sure everyone in the family does exactly what they're supposed to do at the right time, possibly getting a bit stressed about it, having anxiety that things aren't going perfectly, that everything isn't exactly the way you want it to be. And as I already said, negative emotion is a form of resistance that could arise if we're using excess discipline. So by being too disciplined with ourselves, negative emotions could definitely arise for fear of things not going right or becoming outside of our control. So excess discipline results in resistance and too much control. So to do with the question, should we surrender completely to life? Well, I say that we should have a balance between surrender and discipline. The reason for this is because we are incarnate in this lifetime as a human being to have a human experience. We don't want to just go sit under a tree all day, every day and meditate, because yes, we would go inward and have inward experiences, but we are a human in this lifetime after all to have some human experiences, and that's why some level of ego is required a little bit, although we do want to work on the ego, which I'll get to in just a moment. So unless your life experience in this lifetime is to sit under a tree and meditate all day, then okay, you can do that. But if you want to function in society, I find it's great to have a level of discipline and a good level of surrender. Personally, to the point where I do let creation wash over me. I'm open to whatever comes along, but I still take action and get things done that I want to do. I wouldn't be making too many videos if I didn't take action and do what I needed to do. So having a good balance of discipline might look like this. You'd be conscientious, attentive, observant, productive, innovative even. Not a lot gets created if we don't have the discipline and take the action to create. And then what would a balanced level of surrender look like? Well, trusting in creation to provide you with what you need for your learning and experience. If you're holding a good vibration, you can trust in creation that creation will bring you the absolute best in your life. Surrender would also look like allowing and accepting and being open to new experiences. Being open to new experiences is a very important part of surrender, because we don't know what we don't know. We don't know what's coming round the corner, what creation has in store for us that might teach us a lot, that might enrich our lives. We might not have thought of these things that could be coming up for us and therefore are unable to consciously manifest them. We need to be open to the unexpected. And when it comes to allowing and accepting, a good level of surrender allows you to allow and accept the things coming into your life that you can work with and gain experience from. But when we have too much surrender, for example, if we are in an abusive relationship, taking no action or allowing people to violate your boundaries, that's too much surrender, putting up with an abusive relationship of some sort. So a good level of surrender, we have our boundaries in place, we have discipline and take action if required, and yet we're still allowing creation to bring us what we need for our learning and experience. So as I said, the whole thing doesn't mean we take no action. Surrender, a good level of surrender, balanced with discipline, we take action. As a human being in this lifetime, it's important for creating catalysts for our experience, which is exactly what our soul wants us to have. Now, the whole of this seesaw type scales here, it's all about flow, isn't it? So if we achieve a good level of discipline and surrender, a good balance, we have balance, then we have flow. So when we have flow, we are taking action, the right amount, not too much so that we generate negative emotions for ourselves and we're controlling too much, and not too little so that we're idle and inactive. When we have good flow, our creativity flows, because we're allowing our intuition to come through when we surrender, and then we're making that creative output through our discipline. When we have flow, we're open to new experiences and new possibilities, which enriches our experience and can bring great happiness, especially if we're holding a good vibration. We can trust in creation to bring us all the best if we're holding a high vibration, and you can work on that. There's lots of videos about that. When we've got good flow, we're in tune with creation, we're one with creation, we're really riding the wave of creation. And therefore, lots of synchronicities and miracles tend to happen. The right things occur in your reality, the right opportunities, the right experiences, and the right people come along, and the right information as well, things you need to know at the right time. So when we've got good flow, synchronicities and miracles fall in our lap, and we can marvel at the amount of them that happen to us. And when we've got good flow, we're on our soul's path. We're still functioning as a human being in this reality, which is our experience here, but we're in tune with our higher self and our physical self in balance. We're following our life plan or soul's path beautifully, allowing intuition to come in, but still taking action, which is what that discipline word is all about. When we have good flow, our heart and mind are working together. The discipline side of it is quite logical, the conscious thinking mind. The surrender part of it is quite intuitive, to do with the subconscious mind. So here our heart and our mind are working together. The intuitive and the logical go hand in hand. And when we have good flow, we have a good balance between the masculine and the feminine. Now, I've done a video on the Hermetic principle of gender, and when we're talking about this, we're not talking about physical sex, males and females, we're talking about the energies involved therein. So when we're talking about the masculine energies, here they're very outward and expansive. There's lots of courage, motivation. It's to do with logical thinking and confidence and strength and direction and assertiveness. Again, I'm not saying that men are like this or women are like this. Each of us is a mixture of masculine and feminine energies. So I'm not talking about men and women here. So when we have good flow, we have a good mix of the masculine and feminine energies, and the feminine energies represent being intuitive, loving, supportive, emotional, sensitive, creative, feeling and understanding. So when we have good flow, we are a good balance of the masculine and feminine energies, a good balance of discipline and surrender. Now, another thing when we have good flow is that our ego tends to balance out more. We're actually chilling out a lot when we're surrendering to what goes on without trying to control everything, without trying to pin everything down, and we're fussing, getting anxious and stressing, having negative emotions. Our ego lets go of a lot. A lot of things are very important to the ego, and we can question whether they really are important. As we go through our awakening and go along our spiritual path, we can question whether a lot of things are really meaningful and really important to us. And through surrendering, we find a lot of things aren't actually that important to us. We allow the flow, and then amazing things come into our reality. The thing about the ego is that a lot of people do have excessive discipline going on, with a lot of resistance to what they don't want. There's a lot of fear, subconscious fear, you might not recognize it, fear of things not going my way, and therefore we control. The ego loves excessive discipline and getting really embroiled and tangled up in lots of issues and thoughts, and I must do this, I must do that, I must look like this, I must have that. The ego loves all of that. Release some of that discipline, just be conscientious, attentive attentive, observant, productive, while surrendering to the energy, surrendering to creation and what it will bring, open to new experiences. The ego loves to control and really pin things down. If we're surrendering, we're letting go of a lot of that control and open to new experiences. The ego doesn't always love the unexpected, but we can surrender to some unexpected bits and bobs, see what comes along. The soul loves for us to have new experiences. So when we're in the flow, we're very connected to our higher self and reducing control. So on your spiritual path, you see, as a point of consciousness within creation that you are, part of the whole, as we're all one, each of us can become aware of many things. And this is one of those things we can become aware of, to what extent we surrender to life and to what extent we discipline ourselves within it. Now, being aware of this, becoming conscious of it, it's what creation wants. It's what your higher self wants. Your higher self wants you to become aware of these things and make things conscious and mull them over. So this is the purpose of this video, really, is to make it conscious for you so that you can mull it over. All good stuff. And then you can decide what level of discipline or surrender you'd like in your life. So I hope you've enjoyed this video today on should we surrender to life? If so, how much? So leave me and others a comment on what you think about all of this and to what extent you surrender to life or are quite disciplined. And please go ahead and visit nikkisutton.com, because on there I've got 2 great online interactive courses, Inner Work for Ascension course and my Intuitive and Psychic Development course. More good stuff there to help you on your spiritual path, to open your mind to new possibilities, plus healing as well. Or you can support this channel via Patreon so I can continue to bring you more videos like this one. Thanks so much for watching, and remember to click subscribe and the bell button too, because we're raising the mass vibration together. So go now in love and peace.